Warning, what you're about to hear was intended to make you laugh. A lot. If you listen to the show and feel inspired, then that's awesome. But if you're easily offended or just can't take a joke, you should turn this off right now. Otherwise, turn this shit up and hang on. Welcome to the Get Up. All right, welcome to the Get Up. I'm your host, JP. Today with me is, I don't know how to say your last name. I've been debating. I'm like, is it Rager? Is it Rager? Samantha
Rager.
Rager,
It
okay.
looks so much cooler, though, than what it sounds
If it was Rager,
Yeah.
that would be way cooler, right? Should you just change it as your stage name? Like, I'm Sam Rager.
I'm tempted. to just go phonetic on it.
All right. And Sam, you are a comedian.
Yeah, I'm trying.
You're trying, okay. How long have you been practicing comedy? Well, actually, what do you have to plug? You got websites, Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff. How can people get a hold of you, find you?
Yeah, you can find my dates at samragercomedy.com. I'm on Twitter at sgrager and Instagram at Rager Samantha.
It's tough to remember all that stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, I also have an Instagram. I haven't updated it in a long time. It's at lolfetus. It's if you remember the lolcats.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
you
that.
just did one with a fetus?
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure I heard that. So, that was annoying. Like when I did this, it's like I have like the getupshow.com, and then I also have Facebook is the Get Up Show podcast, and then Instagram and Twitter are both like the Get Up Show, and like really it's called the Get Up, not the Get Up Show, not the Get Up, like, you know what I mean? So it's like everything's taken or so close to something else, and this is all that you can get. It's hard to brand yourself and keep it all consistent across the board.
Yeah, I'm jealous of the people who have been able to. Like,
yeah,
wow,
for sure.
They had to get in there early,
right? Had to. So the comedy thing. How long have you been attempting or being a comedian?
It has been 7.5 years.
Okay.
And I've started in the Metro Detroit area, and I've just stayed. Yep.
What how did this happen? Like what made you decide to 7 years ago be like, I'm gonna be a comedian? Like, where'd that come from?
I was an undergrad at Wayne State, and I was going through a hard time trying to work through my emotions of just pushing and trying to get to grad school, and then going through like a weird breakup, and then also always constantly being on the verge of being homeless, and all of those.
It sounds like the mixture for being a drug addict, not a comedian. Right?
It could have gone one of two ways. I'm really happy with this result. I saw.
You think there's any drug addicts out there that are like, man, I totally could have been a comedian?
We get a couple. We just see an open mic pop up, just full of drug addicts.
Hey, maybe it's the next new, helping get them off the street, right?
Yeah. It's called the Powder Room.
Okay. So anyway, this combination, this mix of things happening.
Mm-hmm. And I knew that making people laugh made me feel better. So I wanted an outlet for that, and I didn't know that Detroit had a really big underground comedy community.
Neither did I, or do I? Okay. I'm
so,
finding out now.
The only thing I did was Google, and Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle was the number one result.
Yeah, I've been there.
And I saw that they offered stand-up classes, and I took the intro to stand-up with Bill Bouchard, and it was really cool. He challenged us to go to local open mics, and doing that allowed me to meet other comics.
Right.
And
is it so? Like, I used to back in the day, like let's say 2004-ish, I used to go to like open mic nights all the time, and I've never seen any comedians. It was always, like an acoustic performance or a band or something like that. And it was never, I mean, were you specifically searching for comedy open mics or just going to open mics and comedians would be there?
Thankfully, Bill gave us like a list of local comedy open mics,
Okay.
and that helped us out a lot. And it was like the standard, like when Joey's was still around, the Joey's Comedy Club open mic, and then New Way Bar had a open mic, and they still do.
Okay.
So
And where are those at? Where's New A at?
New Way's on it's on Woodward and Ferndale.
Oh, okay.
And then Joey's, R.I.P. Joey's. It was it was in Livonia.
Okay.
And then they closed, I think 2015. So they are greatly missed. But it was a good way to meet other new comics. And there are always like a bunch of bar comedy open mics happening.
Really?
They may not last like more than a couple years, but going to the club open mics allowed us to learn and navigate where those were.
Okay. Because I've seen you post about like open mics at some bars in some local areas. Like I think there's one in Clawson that you posted about. So I was like, oh, that's like right down the street. Because before it was like, if I wanted to see local comedy, I was always thinking like Ridley's or Chaplin's when that was open over on Groesbeck. And if you're not from this area of Michigan, you're going to have no fucking clue what I'm talking about. But so like those were like the main ones. I lived in Chicago for a semester, and I loved going to like the Improv Olympic over there. I don't know if I ever made it over to Second City, but it was just, I've always loved comedy. I thought about trying my hand at it, but I don't know. A huge inspiration was because I am a magician or an illusionist or whatever you want to call it. You tell people you're a magician, they automatically think children's parties. But I do like, my stuff has like penises and stuff, so it's not really kid friendly. But totally lost my train of thought. Oh, The Amazing Jonathan, if you've ever seen him.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Comedy and magic, and like his illusions were disturbing, and his comedy is pretty disturbing too. So that was like, I was like, man, that's what I want to do. That's why I have literally a foam penis that I can make appear in your hand and stuff, so like that was because it was like, oh man, I want to try something like that. So that was my goal for a period of time, was to like come up with a comedy magic routine that was pretty raunchy that I could try to test out at my open mic nights. And then just life, and it didn't happen. So
Well, I encourage you to, definitely.
yeah, I think I'm funny, but
I listened to your podcast. I just actually finished the Ogama County one.
Did you? That is now the highest downloaded one. I told one of the guys, Joe Fennick, he's one of the guitarists, and I think he's one of the screamers. But he is. I work with him, and we've been in like a class together for the last week. And I just told him like 2 days ago, like, dude, your guys' episode is like the most downloaded episode now. And he was blown away by that, so it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I was
Thanks
oh yeah, no problem. It was a great episode, and I was excited because I was like, oh, I grew up near Ogama County, and I'm like, yay!
So you from up north? Mm-hmm. Really? So where'd you grow up? Where'd all that, like where? I've been like this area, Auburn Hills, and like Macomb County my whole life. So like Oakland, Macomb, that's it. Little blip on the map out in Chicago, and then back here. What about you?
Like a ton of different like small towns up there. So the closest one I lived to Ogama County is Au Gres, and Au Gres is
I know Au Gres.
Yeah,
that's
and
far away.
and Standish a little bit, and Bay City, and Saginaw, or not Saginaw, Auburn, but like the Tri-City area. But my dad, like, growing up, my family, like, for a family of four, made $6,000 a year. So they, like, my dad was doing shady stuff to try and like.
What do you do up there? I mean, there's not a lot.
Yeah, GM left. I mean, they still have a small presence up there, but they laid a ton of people off in the 90s,
Right.
And so there was like a lot of people who just moved away, and it's starting to come back. And it's weird seeing the rent prices go up there as well.
Yeah, I bet. I just went up to Mayo. We were just up there for like a week.
Did you see the creepy dolls?
No, what creepy dolls?
So they're like near, it's right outside of Mayo, that like this person made an assembly of dolls that like
Really?
along there's 50 dolls with their eyes like sharpied out and their genitals sharpied out. And it is like, if you it's
That's
like,
very creepy.
yeah. And like I there's like Reddit threads from like people who've driven by, and like people got up close. I'm like, I will take a video driving by.
That's really creepy. There's like I can't remember what I saw it on. I saw it on TV somewhere. There's like some island of dolls, some creepy island down south somewhere, like in a swamp, and it's got like just dolls everywhere that are very similar to that. But no, that would creep me out.
Yeah, I feel like that's an old bait and switch. Like, yeah, come check it out.
Well, it's crazy. I went to Canada last year, and we drove up to like Sudbury, Canada. I went bear hunting, and on like all along the freeway, there's those like stacks of rocks. You know, it's like a stack of just rocks everywhere, and it's like, who's doing this? Who? I mean, it was the whole like 4-hour drive, just stacks of rocks along the freeway the whole way. So it's like, who's doing this?
Oh, that's dedication to the craft.
Yeah. Well, is it does it turn into like one person did it and then someone else is like, oh, that's cool, and then they started doing it, and then now just everyone just pulls off on the side of the road, goes into a weird place and builds a stack of rocks that you can see from the road. It was crazy. But no, I never saw any dolls in Mayo.
Be on the lookout.
Scary. That would have been really scary. So what was it like living up there? Like TV? Like
my dad stole cable, so we got to experience that.
pretty common. Okay.
And
now let's just give out your Netflix password. Right. That's the new stealing cable.
I liked it. I definitely had friends up there, but I also at the same time felt like kind of weird and didn't have the greatest relationship with my dad, and was like, I can't wait to get out of this town.
Right.
And then I did a semester in Chicago at Loyola.
Okay. I went to Columbia College. So I went there for film, and then I knew someone that went to Loyola.
Yeah. So Columbia was right across, like pretty close. We ran into a lot of people, like a lot of the theater departments mixed. With each other, and then I discovered that I could not afford Chicago.
That's kind of what happened to me. Well, so like when I moved to Chicago, I was 18, 19, somewhere around there. I stayed the first year. I didn't go to college after graduating, and I just worked and stuff. And I waited tables for a long time. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna move to Chicago and I'm gonna wait tables. And I would go there trying to apply for jobs and stuff, but what I quickly found out was that inside the city of Chicago, if you're going to work at a restaurant that sells alcohol, you have to be 21. Where in Michigan, you can be 18 and serve alcohol. You had to be 21 in the city. So like that right there, my plan just out the window. So then it was like struggling to find little jobs, and yeah, it sucked. And then I came back here, then I got pregnant and had a kid and never went back.
I moved out there like 2 or 3 months after high school graduation. Yeah. I'm like, I'm just gonna start this new like acting like it's really easy, not really like realizing that how hard it was gonna be. 2 weeks after I moved out there, my mom died.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And then like, so the rest of the semester, like,
she says this with a smile on her face. Like, yeah.
She was terminal my whole life.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So she lived a lot longer than the doctors thought she would. Like at the time, like I was like kicking myself because the signs were there her last year alive that she wasn't doing great. But I think with her being sick my whole life, it was just like, oh, it's just another lapse. And I remember like being in second grade and being like, oh, you guys' moms are dying too. Like I just
because it was normal for you. Well, I mean, I'm the only one. No, now I feel weird.
And she died in 9/11.
Wait, she in 9/11 or
no,
on 9/11?
On 9/11.
Okay. Not 200001 though.
No, 07.
Okay. 07. All right. Man, you could really play the sympathy card on that one, right? Just don't tell them the year.
I was get so bitter like the years after when like people from my hometown would be like 9/11, never forget, and I'd be like, who did you lose? Who did you lose on 9/11?
That's great. It's actually because technically you lost your mom on 9/11. Never forget. That's wow. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, that's like a death date that will always be like drilled.
That's a crazy one. Yeah, that one's in the history books.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So you're in Chicago. Your mom dies.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
And then I'm away for like a week for the funeral and all that, and then I come back and then finish out the semester, and then get enough scholarships to pay for outstanding debt that my loans didn't cover, which was like pretty rough. And then moved back with my dad. Which at my mom's funeral, like her relatives were like, "Don't do it, don't move back with him."
Now, were your parents split?
They were unfortunately together.
Unfortunately together. Okay.
No, we begged our parents to divorce so much.
Wow, the kids were asking, like, just end it.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
It was just a very toxic relationship.
Right. Well, I can tell you what, the other side of that picture isn't always the best either. I kind of count the number of step parents I've had, and it's still on an ongoing tally. It changes every few years. So
yeah, my dad remarried in 2013, and she's something. She wants to like be part of my life. I'm like, you guys married in my like mid 20s. Right. You don't have to do this. Yeah. You don't have to try to mom me. Okay, 'cause you missed all that.
Wow, that's funny. But I can relate. No, for me it was my parents split when I was like real young, like 1 or 2, and then my dad remarried, and she is still in my life. She was my stepmom from like 2 or 3 years old till they divorced when I was in high school, I think.
Oh yeah, so it's like a huge
for the developmental parts, and my mom and our relationship was always strained. She remarried multiple times. She got married to the same guy twice. And then her last relationship was with a biker. And then now she like moved to Arizona, got onto a bunch of drugs, meth, and all kinds of stuff. And so like my relationship with her is pretty strained. It's not what it used to be. For a while before she met him and moved and all that stuff, like we got really close when my son was born. Like I was living with her at the time. So like that was and you didn't meet him, he's gone right now. But that was like the closest I was with her. And then all that stuff happened. My dad got divorced from my stepmom. She got remarried. My dad got remarried. So like I've had a parade of step parents, some that like, oh, I'm going to try to be your parent, other ones that are pretty hands off, So it's been really weird. But I can relate to that, like, oh yeah, whatever. And then like my dad's, and it's funny, I don't even call her my stepmom, like my dad's wife. She like, she'll give advice and stuff, but she doesn't try to do the mothering thing. I mean, I am 36, so at this point.
Yeah, I don't call her my stepmom. And I forget like Mother's Day as well. And I'm like, well, it's not called fake Mother's Day. It's like
fake Mother's Day. Well, like I'm horrible. Like I see friends and stuff on Facebook, like it's their birthday. Cool. Keep scrolling. I'm not like I tell my close friends like happy birthday if I remember their birthdays. Okay, I remember my birthday. I remember my girlfriend's birthday, which when I say girlfriend, we've been together 11 years. It's basically marriage. I remember my daughter's birthday, my son's birthday, and I do remember my brother and sisters. My parents, it starts getting a little sketchy. Can only store so much information. I've got to remember like song lyrics from when I was 10. There's a bunch of more important stuff to remember.
Yeah, and I think like when there's like a step parent, like you had a good relationship with your first stepmom, like when there's that kind of like bonding, especially through developmental times, like of course it's like a real like parent like right there. But like when you get together in mid 20s
afterwards,
and she was like trying to set me up with her sons, and I'm like, that'd be weird.
I always thought about that. Wouldn't that be really weird?
Yeah.
There is a movie with Melissa Joan Hart and the dude that played in Entourage where that happens.
Yeah. Oh crap.
What the hell movie is that?
Hit Me Baby One More.
Yeah.
Or not. It was like
all right. IMDb.
It was named after a Britney Spears song.
It was. Oops, I did it again. No. IMDb.
That's what I thought high school would be like, is that movie. I remember watching that in like middle school, elementary school.
Do you think media does that to people? Just gives them an unreal expectation of life?
Yeah.
Like, you know it's a movie, it's fake. But you see the same tropes so many times that it's like, that's what it's going to be like. My prom was nothing. Look, I have been to very few parties that ever equaled the simplest high school prom in a movie. Are you kidding me? I've been to weddings that were barely as extravagant as most of these parties and movies.
Yeah, my junior prom was in a Best Western. It was not. It was not what like media made it out to be like.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like how they do that. That's almost a joke itself. Like I tell my son all the time, I'm like, dude, there's no summer break in life. Like I kind of wish they would get rid of summer break. I mean, yeah. I do, but I don't, because summer break's nice. My kids go to like my relatives' house, and I spend my summers. It's like a break for me too. It's pretty nice, actually. What the hell movie was that?
Drive
Me Crazy. You drive me crazy. Yeah, that's what it was. But that was like they started dating, and then their parents started dating, and that was really weird. And I think it ended with them getting it on in the treehouse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is pretty bold for.
Yeah, right.
You know they're remaking Clarissa Explains It All with a different person.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Is she coming back as like the mother?
No.
No, she's not.
They're having.
I watched a lot of Clarissa Explains It All.
Me too.
Back in the day. I did watch a little bit of Sabrina. Not so much. I used to think that Melissa Joan Hart was pretty cute back in the day. She was probably like a young crush.
Yeah, she was awesome. She was like one of my like, oh, I want to be like her.
Well, I mean, Clarissa, like that show, she had a lot of attitude and like edge, and was kind of for young girls, I could see being like a independent, like strong-willed young woman sort of thing.
That, and I like Blossom. What was that show with the Lawrence brothers?
Oh yeah, what was that? Hey, or whatever it was. Whoa, whatever Joey Lawrence always said.
Yeah, I thought they would be bigger by now.
Yeah, well, Joey Lawrence was huge for a second and then just disappeared. He had a show with Melissa Joan Hart, Melissa and Joey right there. Shit, what it was? And the other Lawrence brother really disappeared.
Yeah, the middle one? Or the tiny one, Andy?
I think all of them but Joey. Right? I mean, crazy. Yeah, because he was on Blossom, that's right. That hair, all the girls love the hair. Let's see, Brotherly Love, was that their show?
Maybe.
I think that was it.
When did it run?
See full summary. Does it say down here? Years there. I just missed the years.
95 to 97.
Yeah, I think that was it. Brotherly Love.
Yeah.
Why are we talking about Joey Lawrence again?
Well, we got on a high school things.
Jeez. So the whole Chicago thing, hard to get a job and didn't really pan out. So what? You moved back here? Because that's exactly what I did.
Mm-hmm. So I moved and I lived with my dad for like a year and a half. And then I went to Maine State.
Okay.
And then I just stayed in the Metro Detroit area. I lived out of my car, like on and off for 5 years after college graduation. And I had like friends during the time that would like let me like stay with them.
What did you go to school for? Like, what did you graduate college with?
I have a degree in anthropology and a degree in criminal justice.
Okay. And what was your plan? Like, I ask people this because I went to school. My son says I went to Smarty Pants school. But some of the people I went to school with, like, the things that they were studying in college when I would talk to them, I was like, so what are you going to do with it? I don't know. But it's crazy. Like, I mean, like, some seriously up there science and stuff. And I'm like, what kind of job do you get with that? And I don't know. So, like, what was your plan when you did all that stuff?
I wanted to go to grad school and continue to pursue forensic anthropology. And I was really deep into it. I was doing, like, a bunch of research conferences all over the country.
Really?
I had grad schools flying me down to, like,
That's cool.
visit them. And I think because I was, like, pushing myself so hard that I kind of, like, cracked, or I was like kind of lost as well. Like I knew I enjoyed it, and I knew that I enjoyed the professors I was working with at Wayne State, but I was like, I know that my mom really wanted me to do this, so how much of me is doing it for myself, how much of me doing it for my mom,
Right.
It's still something I'm very interested in, but I also graduated college at the end of the recession, and a lot of universities were consolidating their anthropology departments and were laying off a bunch of people with their PhDs in anthro, and so they were taking jobs that people with their bachelors in anthro used to take.
Right.
And so it never rebounded. In
Okay.
fact, like a lot of universities are still consolidating that
Really?
department. Which is so depressing. I was like hoping, I'm like, well, one day if I ever want to dabble in it again, hopefully it'll
Right.
just nope, never,
Never. No.
never did.
And just, so then after that, just what'd you do after? Like, so okay, your plan of this anthropology and forensics and stuff just kind of sounds like the carpet got pulled out from underneath your feet. So what happened after that? Like, what'd you do then? Was that, you said, was that like when you were doing the living in your car stuff, or?
Yep. So at that time, when I was still in college, it was like my last couple months. I got hired at a place in Ann Arbor that was kind of like PR research ish. Not market research, but they looked at like media insights, like if Wall Street Journal mentioned your company or whatever, like we would like track that kind of stuff.
Okay. For clients or something. Okay.
Yep. And so I got hired there, and it was in my mind, I'm like, oh, this is like a cool like stepping stone job, and I
Right.
ended up staying there for like 6 years.
Longer than long. That was a big ass step. Well, if it was a long step, you stayed on that stone for a while, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then
6 years flies.
yeah, it does. Like the years keep on going faster, and I'm like, no.
Right? I know. Summer's almost already over. It's crazy. Yeah.
And I think that's like something too that I like worry. I'm like, am I stagnating? Like, was time going by so fast?
Right.
Just like start having like a mental.
Midlife crisis.
Yeah.
They're real. I've known some people. I kind of freaked out a little bit. In my 20s, I forgot how old I was, and I didn't bother to do the math. So people would be like, how old are you? I was like, I don't know. I think I'm 26 or 27, 28. You guess. I'm almost there again because I just don't care. But no, like when I turned 30, I freaked out for like a couple days. But I've known other people that have like freaked out for weeks and months. And just kind of like, oh my God, I'm not where I wanted to be in life. And
Yeah. It kind of felt like that for me. Not like a huge freak out, but like kind of like I'm just gonna lay in bed and think about life.
think about life, just contemplate everything.
Yeah. So it definitely got like that, and especially like I'm so proud of like younger comics for discovering comedy at such
A young age.
Yeah.
So how old were you when you discovered, when you thought like, I'm gonna try this?
I was 23.
23.
Which
is pretty fucking young still.
yeah. Like so now I'm like, oh, like
Oh man, you found it at 17. Great.
yeah.
How often do you think that those people that find it at 17 stick with it though?
Not super often. I think they go to college and like realize like, oh wow, there's like other.
Right. Oh, you mean I don't have to struggle?
Yeah. Especially since like their like trade schools don't have as much of a stigma as like they
used to.
Yeah.
Yeah, before it was go to college, don't go to a trade school. Oh, you're gonna be a slave laborer for your whole life. But now it's like they're really pumping out the trade schools.
Yeah.
But I think that's just because the narrative has changed so much that you see now it's like, oh, what did you go to college for? Are you doing that? Nope. Whereas a trade school is like, hey, you can spend a year here and have like almost be guaranteed a job. You can find this industry is not going anywhere.
Yeah.
You're going to be able to find a job and for decent money right off the bat.
All my friends who went to trade schools don't have any debt right now, and I'm
That's
like,
awesome.
how does that feel? Like,
Right. That's awesome. But I mean, like, you can literally just do 1 year of school and then you're in a job for 3 years, and that's a whole college term. That's a basic 4-year college, and you got 3 years of work experience already. I mean, I get it. It's crazy how that's changed so much. I mean, I've seen literally a guy standing in a suit, college degree, will work, holding a sign. And it's like, I never thought I'd see a guy in a suit holding a sign, standing on the road.
yeah,
But
it's
I've seen it.
so hard, and it's like that's what's also terrifying too is that like talking with like financial analysts and how they're like, oh yeah, recession is coming again. And I'm like, no, I thought it would be longer between.
Between them?
Yeah.
Shit, man, I'm still trying to get over the last one.
Yeah.
I know.
And that's like a discussion too in some of the comics groups is like, what are you doing to prepare if you are dependent on comedy and are lucky enough to make this your full-time job? What are you going to do? Because it's going to be one of the first things that people cut from their budgets.
Do you think it will be?
Yeah, with the last one, a lot of clubs closed.
Really?
And, a lot of comics had to who were doing it full time had to will try to get some kind of day job.
Right.
And then a lot of comics just never came back. And I'm like, yeah, health insurance is nice, isn't it? Like,
it is.
I'm nervous about how it's going to affect this. I mean, there's more open micers because with layoffs, a lot of people are like, I have extra time and I always want to try it, might as well.
Now, is that where it transitions to? I mean, obviously, a comedy club or a club that's focused solely on comedy, yeah, that's probably going to struggle. But bars never do bad.
Yeah.
People are always going to the bar, whether it's a recession or not. That just gives them more reason to drink. So, like the open mics, is it just that you have to morph and go to a bar and do an open mic more often, right?
Yeah, because I started at the tail end of I started doing comedy at the tail end of the recession, and then I was talking to my friends who started at the beginning, and they were saying that while the clubs, like you mentioned, were really struggling and closing, the bars were more open. They instead of being resistant to it or being sassy towards well, your comic said this, so you guys can't have it anymore. They were more open-minded and were like, you know what, Mondays and Tuesdays were slow, so.
Right. What, totally lost my train of thought there. So at what point did you decide, I'm going to do this comedy thing? So you had the job you were on the Stone for 6 years. What happened after that?
I ended up, because at that job, I was working towards the end about 100 hours a week. I wasn't able to do comedy as much as I was doing. It was kind of destroying.
So at this point, you had already started doing the comedy, okay? And then,
that job had been really flexible. Let me work from home, which is huge to be for comedy and being able to travel and take gigs wherever. And so that's part of the reason why I stayed for so long. And then towards the end, it got bought by another company, and everyone's workloads doubled.
Totally changed.
And I snapped. I'm like, I can't do. I had 3 hours to sleep each night. It was
that's rough.
Not sustainable. So I was working that kind of schedule for about 3 months, and it was a gradual progression to that level.
Right. Well, because isn't it just all right, let's bump it up. See how much they can handle. Yeah. Oh, let's push a little more. And it drives me nuts because I've witnessed that firsthand. I work for a larger company, and I've seen that, and it's it gets to the point where people are just getting burned out, and it's oh well, we're gonna keep raising overtime, and you can't make any more mistakes than you used to, but you got to do triple the volume. And to me, it seems like that model is just broken because you can't push people like that so much and expect them to be able to perform at their best. Because they're burnt out, lack of sleep, everything.
Everyone was salaried too where I worked, so they didn't offer any overtime. And so when I did the math, I'm working.
That's even worse.
Yeah, I'm making well below minimum wage right now.
I think there's a local law firm that they specialize in that.
And then people were dropping like flies. They're
leaving, right? Not dying, not literally dropping.
So I hired a company to redo my resume, and they ended up hiring me on.
Wait, you hired a company to do your resume?
Yeah, because there's AI now with that reads resumes, because companies get so many resumes to them.
Right.
And you have to have your resume formatted a certain way for it to pick up words to be able to filter your resume to an actual human to look at. And I was like, I don't know how to do that. So
now you have to format your resume so a robot will read it so that it will get to a person.
And it's weird. So now it looks very dense and word heavy. for those companies. But for companies that still have a human, like, look at it firsthand, when they look at it, they're like, this looks sloppy. Like, why would you write a whole novel?
Do you ask them, like, when you apply for a job, you're like, so do you use a robot or not? Why are you asking this question? Well, I've got a human-friendly one and I've got a robot-friendly one. Which one do you want? That's crazy.
Right? And I was at that company for a little bit, and I was like, I did not mesh with like the
No.
no, and so like 3 months in, they laid me off. And they're like, we're experiencing some financial problems. I'm like, you guys just posted in the community chat that you're buying a yacht.
Yeah, that's their financial problem. They're buying a yacht, can't afford you. Gotta cut costs somewhere. Shit, trying to live their best life. It's so horrible, isn't it? You just get that BS like company line, like, yeah, so we're gonna have to let you go, but I can't be long. I got a round of golf to go play.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that was a perfect impression.
Yeah, I've never done that to someone in my life, but.
Yeah, well, you're a good person, so that's why.
Wait, hold on. Yeah, I think I am, but I think everyone thinks they're a good person.
So that forced me to like kind of like evaluate what I wanted in
Right.
life. Like, do I want to keep on doing comedy? And I do. So I told myself I needed to just find jobs that are comedy friendly, and a lot of it is like kind of gig economy stuff, like doing deliveries or
Right.
I teach kids in China English. Yeah, so
Clearly across the internet, right? Because
Yeah.
you're not driving, like you're not. Can't see you traveling back and forth. As much as I see you active on Facebook and posting all the different shows and stuff that you're going to be a part of, I cannot imagine that you're like flying back and forth. So you just do like over an internet connection then?
Yep, it's like one-on-one, and you can do it in your like PJs.
Really?
Yeah, and the company does all the lesson planning, so you just go through the slides with the students.
Really?
It's the easiest job I've ever done. Yeah, so you can do it anywhere you have Wi-Fi.
Wow. And does that pay decent or?
It starts off at about 20 an hour.
What?
Yeah.
What? You're telling me I could? Well, not everyone can speak good English, so I was gonna say like you're telling me I could have like for years when I was making like shit, I was making $11.50 not too long ago. And you're telling me, well, that was what 4 years ago. I was making $11.50 an hour. You're telling me I could have made 20 just reading to Chinese kids?
Yeah, this job it's been teaching me like new grammar rules. Like I'm like, oh, I didn't know why. That's why we said that. Like this and those. Like,
You know, it's funny. The company I work for recently started a weekly email chain, basically geared at teaching you how to talk better. Like the difference between there and there. Like when to use a comma, when to use a semicolon. Like it's funny. Yeah, I think the most recent one was like quotes. Like you use quotation marks when you're quoting something someone directly said. Don't use quotation marks when you're just paraphrasing what they said. Like it's when it's exact. So like people always doing the quote thing, just wrong all the time.
yeah.
But yeah, it's funny. So like they actually geared that towards like everyone just learn how to speak better.
They're like, we've been sending out too many of these emails.
Yeah.
We'll just consolidate.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You cannot write very well. We're gonna have to change this. Actually, they're like really fun to read. I'm just like, what's the next one gonna be? You know, what's the next lesson? But so, are you at the point now where you're doing this? Like, is this your job, or are you still doing the gig stuff?
I'm still doing the gig stuff.
Well, obviously, because you said you're still teaching kids English.
So it pays for about during like the fall and winter, it pays for about half of my bills, and then during the summer it slows down more because people do not want to be inside.
Yeah, and that's like I mean, how many hours are you really doing that for a day? Like when you're in your winter season, like fall, winter, busiest season.
Yeah, during fall, winter, busy season, including like writing time, I would say about like 3 hours a day.
Right. So I mean, it's not like you're holding it down at 8, and 9 to 5 or something.
Yeah, it's good. The schedule is good, but I also like I'm sad because I get to miss out on some events sometimes when somebody's like, "Oh, we have a birthday party on Saturday night. And I'm like, that's my busiest night of the
Really?
week.
Okay. Well, and especially with the time zone difference, right? So like, I'm sure their day is our night at some point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it sucks. Interferes with your personal life. Then it's like, oh great, I can do this from anywhere basically, but I can't go out.
Yeah. It's nice, but also I still haven't gotten like the scheduling down. Like
No.
I worked at like 4 a.m. this morning and having to
Wait, you worked at 4 a.m.
yeah.
and you did a show yesterday. Mm-hmm. And how long did that show go to?
The show went until about 10, and then it was like an hour and a half away. So I got home at around 11:30 midnight.
Went to bed and then woke up at 4 and
Or I woke up at 3:30 to
right, yeah, obviously get ready. You gotta wake up before you wake up.
yeah. So
Wow.
my life is like a series of naps.
Okay.
I'm like so jealous of comics who came from money, who don't have to.
Well, I mean, I think that's a common jealousy. My earphone is like killing my one ear. I think that's a common thing, right? Like anytime that someone hasn't had to go through the struggles that someone that wasn't born into money has to go through to get to the same level, obviously that's a huge bonus for that person that doesn't have to go through all that. Don't have to live out of your car. Don't have to worry about getting scholarships to cover, debt from trying to go to school and stuff like that. Like, yeah, that definitely makes things a little different when you have to go through that. And I can get that. I understand that. Mm-hmm. So what have you been like now? It looks like you're pretty active. You're all over the place. Oh, I've seen like some in Ohio, pretty far away. Like, where are you? What area do you live in now? Are you still down here in the metro area?
Yep. So I live.
You don't have to give out your address.
I still live in Metro Detroit, and I do because I took like a job that was in person for a little bit during the springtime. I had to limit myself to like mostly doing Michigan, Ohio, and Indiana. But now that I'm not there anymore, I'm back on the road and have like shows. This fall I'll be in like Wisconsin and Minnesota,
Okay.
And Iowa and Nebraska.
What's your favorite place to like do comedy at? What area? I mean, is it going out to California? Is it?
So far it's been I know it's gonna sound weird. I really love Fort Wayne, Indiana.
What?
Yeah, they have always been like open and game for like
Really?
any weird stuff I want to talk about. And it's like the one place where I actually have people who come out to my shows anytime they see me on a poster. And I'm like, I was just here like a couple months ago. I'm going to just tell the same jokes. And they're like, we're open. Like, we are down.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's got to be cool. Mm-hmm. So what was it like when you first started off? How brutal was it?
Oh, I cried so many nights. I think like the graduation show like pumped me up a lot because I'm like, oh, family and friends came out and it was like a good response. And
So the graduation, when you say graduation, like from the
like
comedy class? Okay. So there was literally like a graduation class.
yeah, and then you just like it's like a show. And then it has like 400 people.
How was that class? What was that like?
It was great. Like Bill did an awesome job at allowing everyone to kind of keep their own voice and not trying to like get them to sound like him, and encouraging them to write from whatever point of view they were coming from. He was really great at getting us to condense our jokes and like trim the fat, and get it to a presentation ready 5 minutes. And I learned a lot about both joke writing and the kind of comic I wanted to be.
What do you think was like the most important thing that came out of that you learned in that? Like when it comes to like joke writing and the presentation?
You know that you're funny when you can take the worst thing that has happened to you and make an audience laugh. And so when I was able to make an audience laugh at my mom's death,
Okay. Well, hey, there she's smiling again. So, damn. Okay. Now, what was it like doing those early shows? I mean, that's got to be nerve wracking, right? I mean, you said you cried.
yeah.
Like, what was your first like? Did you start off doing open mics and stuff, or were you just trying to get booked at little shows? Like, how did all that go?
It was mostly open mics. I think the only reason
And those don't pay, right?
No.
That's just hey, if you want to come up and get on the mic.
Yeah, so I would say like my first few, like my first 3 years was like a net loss with comedy, especially like but having to like buy drinks at each bar and like tip the wait staff and making sure like the
Do you need a drink to prepare?
I mostly drank pop. It was like also a money saving thing for me too, to be able to do that. But that was like one of like when venues drop open mics a lot. It's because the comics weren't buying anything.
Really?
They were just kind of like loitering.
Wow, really?
Yeah, like a lot of comics. Because there's so many open mics in the area that you can do comedy almost twice a night, every night of the week. And so comics
For free.
Yeah.
Which I mean, that's just building. That's the building it up, right?
Yeah. And so comics were like, well, I can only afford to buy drinks at like 3 of these shows.
Right.
And so they have to kind of pick and choose. But yeah, I lost so much money. And the bars have regulars who do not want to hear comedy. They just want to go and relax. And so it's like kind of battling that dynamic. But it makes you a stronger comic. Like, okay, if I can make these people swivel around on their bar stool.
Well, and too, like you said, it was like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday nights, right? Those aren't like the most popular, like when someone's trying to see some entertainment. Like you said, those are the regulars that are like, I just got done working and I'm going to go have a drink at the bar and not talk to anyone or just talk to the people that I know that do the same thing. Yeah. That's gotta be tough. So what do you do to get them to swivel?
I had to start writing stronger jokes. I had to throw away so much material. There were still like I would say 2 or 3 jokes of mine that persevered through that first year. But if I look back at my old notebooks, I'm like I could burn all of these and stay warm for a season.
What's it like writing a joke? Like what's the process for that?
For like it's different for a lot of people. For me, it's like
Sure.
finding like the core idea of what I think is funny, and then normally being able to sit down with like a person who would kind of disagree with me on it. So through the process of me explaining to them why I think it's funny, I am able to like write a joke and I just add punchlines throughout.
Right. So why is your mom dying funny?
Sure, because she died on 9/11, and because her internal organs failed her. So some people could still call it an inside job.
Oh my God. Wow. Okay.
It's like the first.
How long did it take you to come up with like stuff like that? Do you find like the witty like puns and stuff like that like come pretty quick to you or?
Sometimes I'll be like driving and I'm like, oh, I need like a pen or
I've definitely had those moments.
and then sometimes it'll be like racking my brain and having to like say it out loud or like just talk about like my day out loud as I'm like pacing. So I'm like, my neighbors probably think I'm crazy.
She's out there talking to herself again, honey. Come here, get the binoculars. I get it. My neighbors have probably seen some weird stuff. Like, why does this guy keep walking out front? Well, like I'm waiting for someone to show up because trying to like be warm and inviting and welcoming when someone comes over, a guest or anything for this, and it's like, oh well, my garage door is open, and usually I try to just meet them out there, introduce myself and stuff. Because I mean, it's got to be weird, right? Like you go into someone you may have not met, we talk briefly, but like it's the same thing for me. It's like, who am I inviting into my house at the same time? It's like, where am I going?
You just see me like making a rough sketch of the outline.
Yeah, right on the phone. So here's a picture of the house. That's how my mom is. My stepmom, which I do call her mom. That's how she is. My stepmother is paranoid like that. So she's like she went rafting the other day, and she's like, "Oh, I'm staying at a friend's house. Here's the address. This is what time. If you don't hear from me, call the police." But I mean, for good reason. The world's crazy.
Yeah.
So what was the worst show you had?
Oh wow.
And what kept you from stopping?
Oh, there's so many.
There's so many bad ones.
Yeah. There was one where I was as I was walking off the stage, somebody shouted, "Thank God she's not up there anymore."
No,
Yeah.
really. I mean, was it crickets while you were up there?
I know, which is surprising because I definitely bound worse than that.
Well, is that just a drunk person that's like? I think there is a group of men that just doesn't think women are funny. So,
Yeah.
So you're dealing with that already. And then just depending on the style of comedy that you do, I mean, an example, a weird one kind of like that was I went to a Daniel Tosh show in Detroit, and in the middle of his set, this lady stands up and starts throwing stuff at him. And it's like, do you not know whose show you came to? Like, I've got a TV show. I think he literally said that. I have a TV show. Do you not know where you are? So, like, that's like, to me, is like, I went there because I know what his comedy is, right? So, I mean, obviously, if it's like an open mic night or it's someone that doesn't follow you, they may not agree with like your joke telling, right, or your style or your subject matter, stuff like that. But I think, like I said, like, there's that animosity towards women comics as well that you probably have to deal with a little bit.
Oh yeah. So there's the dudes that do not think that women are funny, and then there's the dudes that are with their girlfriend who like do not want them to, like, I don't know, they get like kind of competitive. A weird vibe.
Oh, so you think she's funny, huh? You don't laugh at any of my jokes.
Like,
you think she's funny, huh?
Yes.
Why don't you go home with her tonight? Oh yeah.
So there's definitely that. I've gotten that a lot.
My ex-wife, I used to DJ a lot. And I would DJ down by Wayne State. There was this place called Elvin's, which was like a bar club. They had a stage and stuff. They did a lot of shows. And I used to DJ hip-hop shows on Sundays. And a lot of performers, when they would perform, is they would give you a CD to play. This is back when CDs were around. They would give you a CD to play. And, you know, at the end of the night, a lot of them wanted their CDs back. So, like, there was this group, this duet of female rappers that were performing. And at the end, like, once they were done and stuff, and I was taking a break, I walked over and I gave them their CD. And they're like, "Oh, yeah, thanks, you know, cool, blah, blah, blah." And that was it. And my ex-wife now was there with me. And I walk over to her table, and she's like, "What, you want to fuck those two? Huh?" I'm like, "Dude, I'm just giving her the CD. Like, chill out."
Yeah.
And so there is that competitive thing, too. I can definitely see that, for sure.
Yeah, it affects it a lot. And then, like, once you see it, like, in the corner, you're like, this is how the rest of the night's going to be.
Right. But, I mean, as long as the whole crowd's not like that. But, like you said, if the crowd seemed like they were okay and then that one person says something.
Yeah, and it just makes it so weird.
So, like, when that happened, does that just, like, take the wind out of your sails?
Yeah, I'll be, like, in a funk the rest of the night.
Have you ever been haggled, like, while you were performing?
Oh, yeah. My like second year in, I was doing a show. I don't know if you know where Mandy's is.
No.
It's like on 7 Mile, on 7 Mile and Conan, I think.
Okay.
But it's
right
like
by Hamtramck then.
Yeah. It's like one of the shows where like the audience decides how long you can stay on.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And
So if they like you, you just keep going?
Yeah.
That's probably cool and horribly scary at the same time. Like, oh shit, I'm getting to the end of my material.
Yeah. Oh man. So I was up there for like a minute and a half, and like people started like shaking their keys, which is what they do to get you off stage, and somebody shouted,
okay.
"Get off the stage, Wonder Years."
What?
Yeah.
Why would they call you Wonder Years?
I have no
No
idea.
idea.
May I look like an extra from it.
That, or were they saying you looked like, what was her name?
I wanted to be Wendy.
Yeah.
I wanted to believe I looked like Wendy, but I'm like, I'm not.
Wow. Okay. I heard one. I think it was Martin Lawrence. He had one I was listening to, so in my truck, when you buy a new car now, you get like satellite for like 6 months to a year, depending on what car you get and whatever. So I would always listen to the stand-up channels, like Comedy Central, just like Raw Dog. There's a bunch of different comedy stations on Sirius, and like one of them was Jamie Foxx, but then Kevin Hart owns it now, and it's pretty funny. But it was like Martin Lawrence was doing a bit, and someone haggled him, and he destroyed him. It was bad. I mean, I was dying. It was so bad. But then I seen that happen live. Ari Spears came to town last year, I think it was, and in this comedy club is in Southfield. I mean, it's a
Oh, Punchline?
Yes, and it's a predominantly black comedy club, and I was weirdly enough I was one of two white people there, and then I was with like a Chaldean family. I got invited, and like they had the ticket and everything and stuff. So and we sat like we were right next to the stage. And Punchline, the stage is like the size of this fucking table, like it's crazy intimate. And yeah, someone was haggling Ari Spears, and I mean it was insane to see and hear because he made that guy the punchline of every fucking joke for like an hour. It was crazy. He closed the night out ripping on that guy. Like, it was insane how he was able to do his stuff and then just bring it back to that guy and keep going and bring it back to that guy. Like, it was nuts. And it would have been, like, to me, I would have been like, damn, that's awesome. Like, I don't mind being the punchline of someone's joke. I was at Mark Ridley's. I was the punchline of someone's joke. There was this British comedian, and he was doing... it was the shit tour. So that was like, his bit was about how Americans use the word shit for everything. I can't remember the guy's name. It was hilarious though. He's like, only in America do you see like, it's cool as shit, dumb as shit, hot as shit, cold as shit. You got a lot of shit, that shit's sweet. Like, it's shit, so like, it's funny, his shirts like literally said shit. And it was like all the phrases that you would use saying shit that made up the letter. It was pretty sweet. But then he like looks at me and he goes, I mean, this guy, look at him. He looks like he lives in a trailer with a lot of shit. And my girlfriend fell out of her seat laughing almost because at the time I did live in a trailer. And if you look around, I do got kind of, quite a bit of shit. So it was hilarious though. But man, Ari Spears just like murdered this guy and made him the butt of every punchline, and it was insane to see like that happen. Because a lot of times, like you rehearse those, right? You're rehearsing those jokes that you're writing, and you have it set up like this is a structure. I mean, how often do you find yourself straying from that path that you've rehearsed, or is it like you just have these jokes and you just kind of plug and play them in different lines, or are you following like a linear path? Because whatever he was doing, man, it was crazy. It was just crazy to see that this person just be the punchline for everything.
I plug and play with like a lot of my sets. Like Ari Spears is like a master at being able to handle those kind of situations, and I don't have that kind of skill level to be able to do that and not turn an audience against me.
That place was dying. It was crazy. And then we were the butt of a lot of jokes because, again, predominantly black. And he would stop and look at us and be like, just so you know, in the black community, blah, 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 blah. Like, it was fucking hilarious. But anyway, sorry. So for you're saying you wouldn't be able to handle that situation so well?
No, I would probably I always, try to if I get heckled, try to still compliment them, because so many hecklers think they're helping the show, even they don't realize that they're being disruptive. Mm-hmm. So I'm I try to bring them in a very playful way, that doesn't pick fun at them, because right. I've definitely seen audiences turn on comics who are so many comics just say shut up to people. They don't make a joke out of it, or they don't turn it around.
I've seen that work too. Mm-hmm. Same show, some lady from the background said something, and he was like, "Shut up, bitch! They didn't come to see her. You talk. I'm the one with the mic," because she was yelling stuff constantly, and he was getting annoyed. It looked like, but I mean, even that just cut. The crowd was just dying, So I mean, I guess I could see it both ways where the crowd could turn. I mean, there was a pretty famous instance with what's his name, the dude that played in Seinfeld, where he went down a dark path and it backfired on him.
Yeah.
That was bad. But I think there's a balance maybe, or is it just reading the room and knowing what you can get away with?
It's reading the room and a certain skill too. Ari Spears is super famous. And anyone who's pretty familiar with comedy has heard of him. And so I think he that combined with his general skill. I mean, he's right. famous for a very good reason. Super talented at it. So I think that he can do stuff that other comics can't.
Right, can't get away with.
Yeah.
He gets that pass because of that.
Mm-hmm.
What when you're performing, what's that like? Like, is it just a rush of people laughing that gets you up there? Have you ever choked? Have you ever just like fucking froze?
The last time I choked, I was like a couple months in, and the comic who was like the host of that night was like, "Oh, open micers!" Like he made like a comment about it on stage, and I'm like, "This guy."
This guy.
And so like after that time, I haven't ever
No.
like choked on in terms of just like forgetting or blanking on
Just
my
blanking
set.
out. Just persevered.
Yeah, or just riffing.
Is it hard to overcome that kind of stuff? I mean, because that's like a mental, like, damn, because like in the moment you're like, fuck, right?
Yeah, you like start sweating, and it's like, oh gosh, like it feels super embarrassing, and time feels like it's going
It's
so
so
slow.
slow, right? What would you say your style of comedy is?
Very dark.
Very, well, you're talking about your mom dying on 9/11 and it being an inside job, so yeah, I guess so.
Like people have described it as like being very alty or very like comic kind of humor. If people like Patton Oswalt or Mark Maron.
Patton Oswalt's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, I'm definitely not at that skill level, but like the
Similar style. What led you to that? Like, is that your natural sense of humor?
yeah. And I've had so many people tell me that I need to like dumb down my humor.
I was gonna ask, like, do you ever feel like you have to tone it down?
I sadly try to, but I can't. I'm like this is just the way I write, and if I could, I would be able to book more shows.
Damn it! Why are you so dark? But I think in two things. I think there is definitely a place for those comedians because you see some very well-known comedians like Tosh that their shit's dark or horribly inappropriate, and that's what makes you laugh, right? Like in him having the balls to say those things. And granted, yes, now he's had a TV show for X amount of years and he's done all that stuff, but at some point he was an unknown just trying to make it, and I mean he was saying those things. So like there's obviously room for that. But on the flip side, it's been in the news a lot. Like and there's been, from what I've read, like it feels like with the you can't say this and you can't say that, like almost an attack on comedy. I mean, I've read a couple times people saying like, oh, comedy's dying because you can't say it's a joke. You know what I mean? Like that's the whole thing. And like you're working, you address your mother's death as a joke.
Yeah.
And for some people, that's like the worst fucking thing you could ever do. And then, so how do you navigate that? Like what do you think of the current state of comedy? And how do you navigate being a dark comic, those situations and those subjects?
Having to eventually let it run off my back, and knowing that the positives definitely outweigh the negatives. Like I talk about self-harm and on my album, and when I was preparing for that and doing that joke all over, I've had parents from all over the Midwest like reach out to me and be like, my son or my daughter or my child like struggled with this. Thank you. It helped me understand it. And I've also had people who themselves like they have
Right.
struggled with it, who are like, thank you. It doesn't get talked about, or whenever a comic brings it up, they always bring it up making fun of it versus talking about experiencing it themselves. Right. And so I've had way more of those than people who are like just last week I had somebody tell me like, talking about mental health is hard, so how about you just not do it and try a better comic.
This subject is hard, so why don't you not? That was pretty funny how you said it.
Yeah, so
And what do you do in that situation? What's your answer?
Because like that night I completely like ate garbage and like on stage, and the first half of my show I just did brand new material, and which is a bad move in comedy. And
is that scary?
Yeah,
when you're trying out new stuff.
I hate it. After I put out my album, I was like, okay, time to like start writing again, and just making myself vulnerable like that. I miss like doing jokes that I knew like
that you know are gonna get the laugh, right? Like the surefire just killers, because I mean that's part of doing it, right? That rush of making people
Yeah.
laugh. So when it's crickets or
Yeah. So the second half of that set, I was like, okay, I'm gonna like retreat back to like old
right, okay, let's go back to the comfortable waters.
and then I had already lost him at that point. So I think this person thought that the mental health stuff was like part of the new material. And so I think that they were like, oh, I'm just going to give you this piece of advice. I'm like, no.
Right.
Like, I've seen that joke work in front of audiences that are close to 1,000 people.
And so you
like,
think it was more that you lost the crowd earlier, so when you went to the old standbys, like it just you'd already lost them. And it just...
a mix of that, and then a mix of like, I've seen shows at the venue. I haven't seen like stand-ups do well in general. And so like going into the show, I'm like, yeah, this isn't going to go very well.
Have you ever been able to like rebound in the same show, like feel like you've lost it and then bring it back?
Yeah. And weirdly it's with the dark, like the super dark humor, and the mental health joke, going into it, like even if I've lost them the whole set, when I start in on that joke, people are like pull back even more because they're like, oh, this subject matter.
Right.
And then by the time I get to the relatable moment, talking about like hating my job and like what brought me to like some of these thoughts, like a lot of them have, whether or not they've told anyone about it, have experienced it at some moment in their life.
Right. Well, like, I mean, I don't know, personally, if I'm in like a bummed, depressed mood, I'll put on like sad, bummed, depressed music. You know what I mean? And it's like almost like it helps you work through whatever it is that you're feeling so that you feel better. Like I've never been like, oh man, I'm just fucking not feeling it today. Let me put on some happy ass motherfucking music. You know, because it's not your mood that you're in. Like I'm not like putting on something. I'm like, oh, you know what? Yeah, turn my day around. So I mean, like I can understand like the jokes, especially being the dark stuff, helping you or people listening kind of work through it. I think there's also just that like segment of the population that doesn't understand.
Yeah.
So then they just look at it as it just being a negative experience, or just making fun of it. Like
I've heard comics be like, oh, I'm just gonna go home and cut myself. I'm like, yeah, some people would do that. Like, it's not like, okay, you can say that if you're gonna like make fun of it. I don't know. Do it intelligently, like that's what's the joke in that. And I don't know, like I tend to prefer like humor that punches up instead of like punching at somebody who is still struggling. I know that dark, like some people think talking about mental health in general is punching down,
right.
And I'm like, no, it's like erasing the stigma and making awareness,
right.
And then talking about death makes people uncomfortable. Like a couple months ago, I was talking about my mom's death on stage, and this woman came up to me after the show, and she was like in her 60s, and she's like, just so you know, I lost my mom 2 weeks ago, and we are burying her this Saturday, and I found your joke to be extremely offensive, and I needed you to know that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like, okay, sorry, didn't know you were going through that. Let me just not tell my jokes. Like,
yeah, like you waited a long time to bury your mom. 2 weeks to have on ice. Wow.
Sorry, she went. It should have been you. No, that's crazy, and it feels like that's like a lot of the stories nowadays is people like making everything about them.
Yeah. Or I think because comics, I think more comics now are coming from a very authentic place and talking about their own personal experiences. Whereas like 30 years ago, we're just kind of like making up kind of situations. And so I think that people still think that comics haven't experienced like half of what we talk about.
Do you think that because come on, I've listened to a comedian be like, so I was in the store the other day, and it's like, yeah, were you really in the fucking store? I get it. So, but do you think that is happening more and more? I mean, from the inside looking, being able to see and talk to other comics, that these are genuine experiences that they're living, that they're making a joke or embellishing.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, definitely embellishing. I mean, the timeline
That's part
for
of the fun
sure.
though is embellishing for sure.
So I mean, how many times can things happen just the other day? So like the timeline, of
Right.
course, is embellished. But yeah, I think more comics are trying to look for specific experiences to them because there's more oversaturation in comedy, and that can lead to parallel thinking. So like 8 comics can have basically the same exact joke and are paranoid like, oh, did they steal my joke? And it's like, no, it's you guys are doing observational comedy on the same thing.
And yeah, and I know that's a huge thing, like stealing jokes.
Mm-hmm.
I know there was like stuff with some famous comedians being
Mm-hmm.
accused of stealing jokes and stuff like that. And I know, I can't remember who it was. Someone did bring up that point though. Was like, if you're making a commentary on like a current event, it's only a matter of time before someone else makes the same, comes to the same point that you did without hearing your joke.
Yeah.
Like, it's not going to be, I don't know. It's easy to come to the same viewpoint on something, or come to the same punchline just because that seemed like the logical punchline for it.
Mm-hmm.
And then people get bent out of shape about it, like, oh, they're stealing my stuff.
Yeah. So I think that has led to people being like, okay, well, if I write about my specific experience, it's going to be hard for somebody to steal that.
Do you ever dive into like current events and news and stuff like that? Because I mean, shit, the stuff going on nowadays just feels like it's a
Yeah.
joke. I mean, I'm pretty sure someone already made a movie about everything that's happening.
I sometimes like touch on it. Most of the time, I when it comes to current events, I'm pretty bad at writing. Like, or I can write the joke. It's just not gonna do well.
Right. Well, and
And it can.
you never know who your audience is.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Oh, I've seen audience. Current events jokes can be like very divisive.
Right.
I mean, when the audience hears my jokes, it's pretty. They can probably guess like where I stand,
Where you stand.
on the political spectrum.
Right. Yeah.
But I never-
But no one wants to be the hecklers to be like lock her up or send her home.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Is it where do you see it going now? So it looks like you've been pretty busy all over the place, and you said you've gone across the country. What's that been like? That like doing that travel, and with an album, did you do a tour, or like how does that all that work out? Like,
The album has been fun. It's been pushing me to write more. I haven't traveled as far as I have wanted to with it, but that was because I wanted to make the choice of, okay, if I am going to travel with this like as my album, I want to have at least 30 solid minutes.
now was that all recorded like at shows that you did?
So that was recorded in one night at Sellerman's in
Okay.
Hazel Park.
Okay.
And which was a gamble. Most comics like will record it over a weekend at the same club, so they can kind of cut it together.
Right, because you may deliver a joke that does way better with one crowd than it did with another
Yeah.
crowd, and you don't want the crickets crowd for sure.
So I was just like, well, hopefully these
What made you make that decision then?
to record it or
Or
to
no,
wait?
well, that and to do just the one night take.
Money to was the,
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
money was definitely the deciding factor with that. And then the decision to record it was, I was like, I've been doing comedy for like over half a decade, and I don't have a good video clip. I wanted something to give myself, especially since I was like turning 30, and I don't feel like I was doing much. I was still unemployed, and so that kind of like helped put like a marker on what I had done in comedy to that point, for me at least. And it did push me to write more. Like I have written more, I would say, in the past 4 months than I did like all of last year.
Really? Okay. And that's because you put out the album, and now you're like, all right, time to get back to writing
Yeah.
stuff. And that's part of it, right? Like a lot of times where it's, all right, I've done these jokes for long enough. Now they're actually out there where people can get it and listen to it anytime. So now I have to do something fresh.
Yeah.
What do you think about the comedians like locking up cell phones and stuff like that?
I definitely get it. Both in that, like, it takes like a joke a long time to get to a place where you want it.
Right.
And so I know a couple like famous comics jokes. Like Chris Rock had some leak where people were making fun of him. And it's like, no, that joke you can tell one is a great premise, and two is going to be a very strong joke
Once
once
he works it out.
yeah. So there's that, and there's also joke stealing as well. Where if somebody takes the premise that somebody's working at and is able to get it to a good point faster, then they can be like, "Well,
Right.
I did that." Like,
I went and seen Kevin Hart when he came to town last fall, and that was fucking bananas. First of all, there is no cell phone things everywhere. Signs, everything, everywhere. Do not have your cell phone powered on. If you wanted to be on your phone, you could be like out in the like main corridor around the arena. But if you were in the arena, you cannot have your cell phone out. And if you did, it couldn't be powered on. And me and my girl, were talking about like, how are they even going to police all this? Well, the answer was pretty cool. They had people walking up and down the aisles with glow sticks on a necklace, and they would just walk up and down the aisles. And if they saw someone on their phone, they take that necklace off and start spinning it like crazy, and you can see that from the other side of the arena. That glow stick spinning, it sticks out like a sore thumb, and like a SWAT team would just come right down. See ya. And I mean, we watched these people across the aisle from us. The lady was on her phone, and 4 people left because one lady was on her phone, and they were all like, "Well, we're not going to leave it." They all went. She's like, "I wasn't even on my phone," and there was no questions asked. You could not argue your way out of it. And like the announcer, so he had his plastic cup boys, like his group of friends. They all performed and opened for him, but the MC, I mean, even said like, "Don't be an idiot. Put your fucking phone away. At the end, you'll be able to take your phone out and take pictures and shit. But we've been working on this stuff for a long time. It's a new tour that we're doing. We don't want to ruin it for the future audiences because you guys are recording this shit that he's saying." And it wasn't so much as like, experimenting with new jokes. Like, this was the set of jokes. This was the performance, and he was just trying to keep it from getting ahead of him.
yeah.
Because then if you already know the jokes, it can make it less funny than going and seeing it live. So it was really interesting, and it was amazing to see how many people got escorted out. And I mean, they said they played in Ohio. I think he did it in Ohio the night before, and he said like 200 people got kicked out. So I mean, and it's just, put your fucking phone away.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous. I'm like, well, how hard is it just to keep your fucking phone away? So, but it was crazy. And then I know others make you put your phones in like a weird like sealed bag or in a box and stuff like that. And I get it. And it's just sad that like you have to get to that point.
Yeah. Oh, I know Chappelle is doing a free show in Dayton tonight.
Oh,
And-
really?
Yeah,
Oh.
and I think he's doing that there too.
Yeah.
But he's been pumping out a lot of material.
He has been. I mean, didn't he just do like 2 or 3 Netflix things within the last year, I think. Yeah, he's been a lot busier.
Yeah, he's done two his first year, then he did 2 last year, and then he just came out with
Something new.
yeah.
How long does it take you to refine a joke when you start writing and performing it? How long does it take you to get it to where you're like, this is it?
Normally, like for about 4 months of like performing it.
Really?
Like because I'll think of tags for it along the way. I mean, and there's some jokes that I've had for like 2 years that I'll like think of a tag for it now. And thankfully, I didn't think they were strong enough to be put on the album, so I can still
You can still use them. All right. Do you ever, when you tell people you're a comedian, get sick of, so tell me a joke?
Oh yeah, because it doesn't have the same effect like in a one-on-one setting, as it does like in an actual.
Well, and from my experience watching comedy, most comedy is like a story. There's like a build up. It isn't just like, let me tell you a punchline right now. I can give you a stupid joke. My dad is the king of stupid jokes. You know how many times I've heard this one, and he'll tell it so seriously. If you listen to this one, you'll enjoy it. He'll probably laugh his ass off because he thinks it's the funniest fucking thing, and you've probably heard it before. But last year I had a really serious problem, and I had this addiction to soap that I just couldn't kick. And my family intervened, and they had an intervention and everything, and I mean, it took a really long time, but I'm clean now. And my dad will laugh at that fucking joke. And I mean, it was literally like a year. We heard that every time we got together. He told that joke, and he would die laughing like it was the funniest fucking thing. That's good, isn't it? Ah! You know, but so like, it's not like that, right? When you meet someone and you're like, yeah, I'm a comedian. You know, and it's like, tell me a joke. I mean, you just pull one of those ones out. Jeez, what was the one? God, I just read one this morning that was hilarious. It had to do with laundry. Oh, I did the laundry. Like, I had fun doing the laundry today. Or, no, I did the laundry today. It was loads of fun. Like, you know, like something stupid like that.
Yeah, like if I told my mom 9/11 joke to like a non-comic, it was like, tell me a joke.
They'd be like, what the fuck did you just tell me? That wasn't funny. Yeah, I agree. Do you think the crowd, like, that experience lends to it too? Like, the crowd experience? Like, there's some people that are like, I hate going to the movies.
Yeah.
I personally like going to the movies because I like when that funny part happens, the whole crowd laughing. Like, I like that weird interaction. I do hate people being on their phones.
Yeah, same.
Cell phones just need to die. Just, I mean, they're useful. Don't get me wrong.
It's like another place that should lock them up.
Yeah, right. For sure. Or just put a jammer out or something.
Yeah.
Something that's just like EMP them things. Something, because it's bad. It's bad. I've sat in a movie and someone answered the phone like, hello? Yeah, what's up? It's like, come on, are you serious?
I will, like, whenever like I hear that and like the person is like close enough, I will do like make like all my gestures like very big, like my body swivel, like, who is this person? Like, I could like peripheral it, like,
yeah.
But no, I'm like, I want them to know.
Start throwing popcorn.
Shame, like.
Shame. Man, so what's next? Like, you staying in this area? Are you traveling more? You got anything planned in any other areas of the country? Like,
I'm going to travel around the Midwest for most of November this year, and then I'm gonna like hit up some spots in the Midwest on the east side, like Pittsburgh and all that, this year as well. And then next year I'm going to be like traveling more throughout the entire country.
So you always go back to Indiana just for your comfort spot?
Yeah, that's good. Makes me feel better.
In the middle of a tour, like, oh, this shit is not going. I gotta go back. Guys, we need a pit stop in Indiana.
They get me.
Now, do you usually do this like on your own, or do you go with like another fellow comic, or how does that work?
For a lot of times, because I used to tour the South pretty frequently, and I had a friend who booked us on all the shows. He was the headliner, and I featured for him, and he is very funny and had enough confidence in me, and I have almost no confidence. And so I was like, basically, like, all my bookings happened like word of mouth, other people telling bookers about me and them reaching out.
Right. So how do you have no confidence? And then, but you get in front of a crowd and tell them about your mom dying.
Yeah, it's one of the few places that I feel comfortable in life. So I'm like, even if the show didn't go well, I still like could feel like I was being my authentic self. And just people don't like who I am.
Okay.
But I'm always aware that I'm like, oh, there's funnier comics, or there's comics who may be better suited for that room.
Right.
And just being able to have the blessing of other people like put me out there have made it pretty easy to get booked in those rooms like again, or like make connections while I was there to even other rooms, and that's how I've been able to do that. But what I want to continue to go back to those rooms, and then also expand, and then I want to do like a web series or like a mini like webisodes, death focused, staying on brand.
Gotta stay on brand.
And just talking to people about what they think happened after death.
After death? Mm-hmm. What do you think happens? Let's get deep. What do you think happens?
I stray for most comics, and I'm like, I think that there's a heaven, or like at least some like pleasant place, or maybe like reincarnation. Like there's this like Siegel book. It's like I think it's like a children's book. It get real deep.
I think I've heard of that.
Jonathan Livingston Seagull.
I think I've heard of that.
Yeah, it was real popular for a minute. And it's about like the seagull like going and like kind of like being reborn, and each situation he was able to like learn something or grow as a being.
Okay.
And so something along that.
So are you like religious or spiritual, or is that you draw the line right there at death? That's when you get spiritual. Other than that, no.
I was raised Catholic, but the Catholic Church is not making us proud. I thought this was supposed to be the cool Pope, and then I was like, "What? He's been covering up like ones in Chile and France."
Yeah, they've always been. But look? Do you think the Pope really is overseeing all that, or do you think that's just they're just the front man?
I think for a lot of them that he's just like a front man.
I think that's a lot for a lot of things. I think that there's some people that are like, even like a president is the front man. I think there's a lot of stuff that gets taken care of by people under them or never even makes it to the top because it would be bad. So it never even makes it up unless something breaks out, some kind of scandal. And then they have to take the brunt of it because they're the figurehead.
Like I have been questioning so much about it. So I'm like, I am loosely Christian. Like
Loosely. Okay. When it suits you.
In my like Christianity at its core is just like believing that there was like a God and they had a son and then died for sins and be good to other people. That's it.
Right.
And then everything else is just things that people layered on top of it. Right. So I'm all about being kind to other people. That
philosophy I think is just it should be a general human one, whether you're religious or not.
Yeah.
Be kind to each other, for sure. That's fine. Well, because come on, I mean, I've personally known those people that are like, oh yeah, I believe in this and I believe in that, but I'm gonna go, dude, this last weekend, man, oh shit, I got shit face, doing blow, like had a crazy rager of a weekend, and then but then Sunday went to church and everything's all well, So, I don't know. I'm personally not religious. I was baptized Catholic, and I did go to like Sunday school catechism classes and stuff like that for a little while. And then I've just kind of explored other ones. Like I had a buddy that was Buddhist, so then I learned a little bit about that. I've known quite a few Jehovah's Witnesses, and that's fucking run for the hills there. I mean, it's crazy. Look, and nothing against any like Jehovah's Witness, the religion, but the fact that people I knew were kicked out and their family couldn't talk to them, like they couldn't associate. My one buddy, his mom and dad would still talk to him even though they weren't supposed to, and they would invite him over for dinner, but he couldn't eat with the family. He had to eat in another room on his own. His sister would never talk to him again. Like,
oh my god!
Like it's crazy, and anything that like makes you do that to your family member, like Scientology is the same thing. Like, oh, if they're fucking what do they call them? A subversive, whatever the hell the word is they use. Like, oh, don't talk to him. You got to get them all out of your life. Like, I don't know. I have problems with that stuff. Like,
yeah,
that isn't being good to each other.
Yeah,
just because they don't believe what you believe or they're doing something different. I don't know. So I see the benefit, like you said. Like it's like if you use it as a code to live by and to treat people good and be a good person. I get it, but I think there's some hypocrites out there too. So I said, like, some people
like cherry pick what they want to.
Yeah. Yes, for sure. For sure. Yes. Yeah. You ever do religious jokes?
I do.
Is there any topic that you won't touch?
Politics.
Yeah.
And
politics is almost, I think at this point nowadays, at least in America, touching politics is worse than religion.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So I don't touch that. And then I generally like stay away from like the heavy side of sexual assault. Like
No rape jokes.
no, no, not for me at least. Like if somebody experienced it themselves, like granted like I've been in that situation. I just don't know how to make it funny yet,
Right.
but I know that there are some comics who have also been and who have great jokes about it. So like kudos to them. But I don't, yeah, I'm not good at it enough at writing that kind of material to like at least like bring the audience on
When
board.
you see comics do that stuff, like rape or abortion, like if it's funny, are you laughing? Like, because
Yeah.
I've seen some masterful ones where it was
Yeah.
like, so I seen a comedian do. This is a famous comedian. I don't fuck it. He did it, Tosh. So he famously had, so he had made a joke about, I think it was rape, and someone went after him and like was trying to sue him or something like that, whatever. So when we seen him, he made a joke about that. Was like, all right, oh yeah, what would you do? You wouldn't think it's so funny if your daughter got raped. Oh, I'd be like, you know what? She's probably stronger than that anyway because she survived the abortion. So like, and it was just like his so nonchalant how he did it, but I mean, it was fucking hilarious. Like, it died, and then he started talking about an endorsement from Dyson. It's like, I got the perfect spot for like, I don't know. To me, it was hilarious to take something that is generally taboo and make a joke that makes people laugh and understand that it's not coming from a negative place. It's literally to make you laugh at the shit that makes you uncomfortable, to laugh it off. I don't think enough people try to laugh it off. But I don't know if that's from, I mean, obviously you've had some trauma in your life that you have turned into material that makes you laugh, and I've gone through enough shit in my life that I try to laugh everything off too.
Yeah, it's a good defense mechanism. Like
And
when
that's
you're
that's what it is, right? It's a coping mechanism for
yeah.
sure.
Like I love almost all abortion jokes. Um, they
Jeselnik's horrible too. He's atrocious, and it's fucking funny.
like rape jokes. I'm like 50-50 on like if it's well done and if it doesn't punch down at the person who
Right.
experienced it, then I am on board. Like if it punches at the person who is uh, the aggressor, then
All for it, and
yeah.
it should. Yeah, for sure.
You'd be surprised if you go to open mic. There's like,
Do you watch the? Does that? I mean, that's got a bomb, right?
yeah, it
Does it
does.
get fucking awkward?
Oh, very awkward. And
Does
then
it make
they,
you cringe? Are you just like inside, like, oh shit?
yeah. Oh,
I
it
love that
is.
feeling and I hate it at the same time. I,
Yeah.
I watch movies all the time. Like, I'm a huge movie buff, and I'll watch movies, and it'll be so fucking cringy, so awkward. I'm like, no, oh, and then like I can't stop watching, but it just makes me so uncomfortable on the inside. I'm like just curling up and dying inside, but I'm like, I can't stop watching. It's so horrible.
Yeah. Like, oh,
It's like a
and
train wreck.
I'm watching the comics normally, like who do that kind of stuff normally turn on the audience and we're like, you guys don't get me. It's like, no,
No.
that one's on you.
Should probably cut that one, right?
Yeah, especially when you see them do it like 8 to 10 times and it's like the same reaction. Because there's like some comics you see who like you see them have like a very strong joke in front of one audience, so you know it can do well.
Right, you can, right.
But yeah, those jokes are normally.
Have you ever seen someone that was trying to do comedy that you thought, like, this isn't your thing?
Uh,
Without naming people.
there have been a couple because I think comedy is so subjective as well that I'm like, oh well, they're not my cup of tea, but I'm sure they would have an audience somewhere.
A small audience.
A very tiny cafe,
What do
somewhere.
you think about people that are like, oh, I could do that?
I love it when they actually try, because some are legit pretty good at it. When they do it, and if they continue to pursue it, do great things. And then there's some who discover that, oh wow, this is not as easy.
I've been trying to get my brother to do comedy for forever. just because this shit he says is so off the wall. Like literally yesterday. So we had a trampoline that he came and picked up yesterday, and he calls me on the phone, and I'm driving. I got my girlfriend and my daughter in the car, and you never know what's coming out of this kid's mouth. Okay, and he's 26 now, and you just never know what the fuck's coming out of his mouth. And I'm like, yeah, dude. I was like, bring your swim shorts and you can jump in the pool, when you're done or whatever. And he's like, nah, dude, nah, it's too fucking cold. I'm not swimming. He's like, but I'm going to head over there in a sec. You know what? Actually, I'm going to take a shower because my butthole smells like fucking shit. And like, my daughter and my girlfriend are, like, dying because it's on speakerphone in the car, and he just keeps going, though. And he's just saying all this raunchy stuff. And my daughter's like, in the back. And then, like, as soon as I get off the phone, she's like, oh my God, Uncle Ryan is so funny. And it's like, you can't even tell him. Like, if I would have been like, yo, my kid's in the car, he'd be like, so fucking what? She needs to know what a smelly butthole is anyway. Like, that's what he says. And, I mean, he's always doing, like, that outrageous and, like, trying to get attention, which is another thing I think leads to comedians sometimes, is that, like, searching for that attention, like, always trying to be funny. Because, like, there's some people that'll tell you, like, oh, I've been the center of attention since I was a little kid. And that's why I think he'd be good. Were you that person, or were you the, like, shy, didn't want to come out of your shell?
Oh, super shy, like, hide in the corner. Like, even now at shows, like, once I'm done performing, like, I want that to
just
be
disappear into the background.
Mm-hmm. Like, there's some venues that have you do the receiving line with people as they leave, and that is so uncomfortable.
Do you do like meet and greets and stuff like that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
is it awkward?
Yes.
Have you had any stalkers yet?
I have had like some guys get pretty persistent in like social media and stuff, and they'll come to a few shows, but not like a creepy amount of shows.
Define a fucking creepy amount of shows?
Like every show. If
a guy's on Instagram like da, and then shows up at your show, I think that makes that the amount that needs to be defined as creepy, right? You come to one show, that's okay, that's support. 2 shows, you might really like me. 3 shows, now you're just getting fucking creepy.
That's a good scale. Yeah, it is.
4 show, okay, I don't need your money anymore. Leave me alone. But tell your friends about me. See, I could be a comedian. I could do this now. It's just crazy. I don't know. It's got to be weird being up on a stage like that. Is there any point where you feel like, did you have the like, yeah, I'm kind of making it? Or not yet? Because it's not paying for your whole life at this point, right?
Yeah. And it's so hard to get to that point too, when there are people like that are like, I can do comedy and I wouldn't be in it for the money, and I'm like, oh, you don't there's the money.
Good luck. Because, I mean, it's a hustle just like anything else.
Yeah.
Like, you could do comedy on the weekends and it not be about the money.
Yeah.
And you could also suck, or you could do really good. I guess you could if it really wasn't about the money. But then again, like, is it that you get to the point where you're like, man, this is fucking awesome. I don't want to work a normal job. I want to be able to just do this. Yeah,
when you can, like, pretty consistently get laughs. Like, if I would say 6 or 7 out of 10 sets are, like, make you feel really good, to me, that is like, okay, I want to do this. I want to keep on pursuing this. And being able to get gigs, like, when I opened for Jim Norton, the audience
Wait, you opened for Jim Norton?
Yeah.
No fucking way. Really? God, he's horribly raunchy. Jesus Christ. It's all I got one of his books over here. No way. Dude, he's hilarious. Yeah. Oh, he kills me. Did you ever see Lucky Louie on HBO? It was Louis C.K.'s original show that he had on HBO. Dude, Jim Norton was like my favorite part about it. Fucking hilarious. Sorry. Oh, no, I love Jim Norton's. I would love to see him live, and he's such a weird looking motherfucker too. He was so sweet. He had food poisoning. He had food poisoning the day of our show, so he was just like, oh, that sucks. So sick. I mean, he still gave a great performance, but like, I didn't want to bother him. And that's gotta be fucking awesome. That had to be an awesome feeling, right? Yeah, to have that. Where was that at? That was at Andiamo in Warren. Oh, really?
And
I DJ'd a wedding there once.
I didn't realize how many people that they could
That
see.
can fit in there?
Yeah.
That place is fucking huge.
So that had close to 1,000 people seated in there, and to have like that opportunity to both work with him and then also to reach an audience that big.
That big. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So that got me like a couple more. Like
I've had a couple brushes with fame, but not like that. That'd be pretty fucking awesome.
Mm-hmm. And then I worked with Robert Kelly.
Okay.
And it was being able to like work with that audience as well was super cool. And he's very fun.
I ran into Jeff Ross once. That was we went to. God, was it Funny or Die? I don't know, it was a fucking comedy show that was. It was at DTE or Pine Knot,
Funny or Die Oddball Festival.
Yeah, I think that was it. Oh, that was a who's who of all the fucking popular comedians. It was fucking nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, it was Amy Schumer, Aziz Ansari, Nick Kroll, Jeselnik, Jeff Ross, obviously. God, what's her name? Bridget something. She's this big raunchy girl. Mm-hmm. That was crazy, but I was walking through the crowd to go get water. And then just like Jeff Ross is like right next to me. He's like, "Oh, so what do you think of this crowd?" I was like, "It's fucking awesome."
Yeah, he comes.
Dude. I was like, "I'm a huge fan of yours. This is fucking awesome." And I mean, it was like a $30 ticket. You get to see all these people that normally you pay like $30 or more just to see them. So it was awesome. That was a great experience.
Yeah, I had a friend perform because they have like a side stage.
Yeah, side stage up.
And so I had a friend get me like a free wristband like 2 years ago, but that show that you went to, that lineup was like I'd already been doing comedy at that point because I remember that one of my friends was performing on the side stage that year, like posting like that because it looks cool when like your name is like right next to
those people, right? I mean, it's got to be like a fucking like
yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know, that's got to be awesome. So I mean, did you ever feel at a point yet where you're like, okay, I'm getting enough traction that if it feels like you're making it? What would and if not, what would make you feel like you made it?
I'm not sure what would make me feel like I made it. Like when I do the Fort Wayne shows and I have like a group of people who
are fans.
Yeah, like they're not other comics who are just trying to be supportive. Like they're legit people who enjoy my comedy.
They're real people. You're just supporting me because you're a comedian. You have to. But these people in Indiana, they're real.
Right here, right in my heart. So yeah, that makes me feel good. And then having so many people support my album sale was a good feeling. It was like also like a lot of these people were my own friends, so
right. so and that's like with the show, and so I published a book too, which is kind of dark. I was a delivery guy for 10 years, and I wrote a book about all my like bizarre delivery stories, like hoarder houses and like titties coming out of shirts and gay guys, old men hitting on me, and just all kinds of and the people I worked with were just as bizarre as everybody that I delivered to. But it was you expect like your close friends and family, like the obligatory, I'm going to get your stuff. Even like with the show, like yesterday I broke 700 downloads, and I think I'm at 16 episodes. I think I have up there. I'd have to pull it up. But when I hit 500, I was like, okay, I'm past the point of friends and family, actually. Like there's like someone's consistently listening. And it's crazy when I pull up the map to see like I've had multiple in India, multiple in Germany, like quite a few in Canada. I've in probably 40 out of the 50 states. So it's really cool to see like it's being downloaded here, it's being downloaded there, all over here, and it's kind of like I don't know anyone in fucking Russia or. Well, that one scares me a little bit. The Russian ones do scare me slightly, you know? And I've been getting some really fucking weird messages on Facebook that are from people I know that look like they've been hacked or something. I don't know if you've experienced this, but on Messenger, it'll be from someone I know, and it'll be a video clip, and it's like, what are you doing in this video? Or, hey, you're in this video.
I got a couple of those.
And if you click it, it takes you to another site and wants you to log in with your password and shit. I'm like, I'm not a fool. Fuck you. Yeah. So, but like, I don't know what the fuck's going on with that.
Yeah, I don't even click, because clicking it can also give them like just.
Well, the first one, I was like, What the fuck are you talking about? Click. Oh, you want my login stuff? No.
Yeah, like I bet so many people have been like, okay, and done it. But I'm like, no, like that was like a red flag, especially like having like
Yeah.
so many like cybersecurity classes in college. I'm like, no.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. Have you ever had like a show like worked with just like a shady booker or something like that where you didn't get paid like you were supposed to, stuff like that? Because I mean, I've had that happen DJing before. Have you ever run into that kind of scenario?
Yeah, not getting paid.
Or not getting paid as much as you were supposed
Yeah,
to?
not getting paid as much. Especially being a female in comedy, like you find out like
Really?
a dude who did the same exact time got paid more.
Right.
So that's pretty common, unfortunately. It's probably too many instances to say. Yeah, and there's also like so many like a handful of known bookers in Michigan who people are just like, nope, not
No.
working. Yeah.
Have you ever had the pervy booker?
Yes. I've had like bookers like run their hands up my thighs, being like, "You have a boyfriend?" I'm like, "Yep." And they're like, "He doesn't have to know." And I'm like, "Not worth it."
So now I'm not going to do this show, right? I
Yeah.
mean, pretty much.
Yep.
God, it's so crazy.
Yeah. So I've had that. I've had like bookers try to put their hands up my shirt. I've had like bookers just try to like verbally solicit. And I think it happens more like it hasn't happened in a while.
Well, I mean, look at the where things are at now.
Yeah, I think thankfully because of that, but there's also so many newer female comics who
Yeah.
or female identifying comics I talk to and it still happens to them. So I think that there's like just that dynamic of
It definitely does feel like that in the last 2 years. There's been a way bigger acknowledgement of female comics. I mean, they've always been there, and there's always been great ones that you know, but like I never knew how fucking funny Joan Rivers was. Right? Was it Joan Rivers? Yeah, like she was
yeah.
fucking raunchy and hilarious. I never knew, but like seeing, especially I think like Amy Schumer was a huge one. Even though I didn't personally find her funny when I saw her at that Oddball Comedy Fest. She has some funny bits to me, but she's not really my favorite. That other girl though, that Bridget lady, holy shit.
I don't think she gets enough publicity.
She's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Let me tell you this, and my girlfriend loves raunchy comedy, and she was gonna pee her pants, and she will, and she was the whole time was like, Jay, I can't. I mean, in between sobbing breaths, was like, I can't watch anymore. I'm gonna pee my pants right here on this hill. But I mean, she came out and whipped her tits out and was like dancing around with her titties out and stuff, and like was just going crazy. And then she like, because like she came out to this rock song, I can't remember what it was. I want to say it was like an AC/DC or something, and she's just fucking holding her tits and bouncing them around and stuff. And then she walks out into the crowd and she literally got on like this guy's lap and like started putting her tits in his face and stuff. And then like the music calmed down and she was like, oh, and she like put herself back together and she was like, how young are you know, how old are you, darling? And he was like 17. She's like, is this your girlfriend? And he's like, no, it's my mom. And she's like, oh, hi. But for that kid, that probably had to be the best night because every comedian after her either called on him somehow in the crowd, acknowledging him, or called him up on stage. Like, so, like, I mean, that would have been fucking awesome.
Yeah, did he look like he was having a good time?
Oh,
Or-
yeah, yeah. But it was hilarious. And other people called him back up on the crowd and stuff. You know, it was really funny. And, but that lady was fucking raunchy. And then I know, what's her name? Blonde hair. I can't remember what her name is. She had a show on Comedy Central. Not Work Safe or what's her name?
There's Nikki Glazer.
Nikki Glazer. That Bridget lady was on Nikki Glazer's with I want to say Kyle Kinane. Was it Kyle Kinane? It was whoever, dude. It was badly. It was horribly funny. It was just so. Oh no! It was the Australian. What's his name? had the show on FXX. God, he's fucking hilarious. I can't think of his name right now. He's Australian.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about though. He almost to me he kind of looks like Anthony Jeselnik in a weird way, with like a more
In a
square
weirdly way.
face.
Yeah. Oh God, what the hell is his name? This is pissing me off. Anyway, they were there and like there was some dildo talk and stuff, and he's pretty like out there, makes people uncomfortable, and this Bridget lady was making him uncomfortable. It was fucking hilarious. So like that stuff was just great. I mean, it was just nuts. And seeing that women comics are getting so much more acknowledgement, I think that is awesome because it's a different perspective. Whether you're a guy or not, like it's a different perspective to see things told from the other side too.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that there's that, but there's also like, so, I mean, there's definitely dude comics that like prey on the newer female comics, even though there's like a lot more out there. I just think it's like a power dynamic. Like I've been around the scene enough where like I think people know like if you try something, I'm gonna say something.
Right.
That I think that there's like kind of like a fear, and a lot of comedy is just like a longevity game. So like a lot of comics like quit after like a few years if they
Why
don't.
do you think that is?
It's a lot. Like it's so emotionally exhausting.
Yeah.
To like put yourself in a vulnerable place night after night, and if you don't like consistently get laughs, which like nobody does, like even the greats still talk about bombing some nights,
Right.
and to them that's even more wild because like you should know what you're getting at. But then again,
Right.
you talked about that Tosh show where like there's still people in the
They're still
audience.
throwing fucking shit at him. I mean, he was like, I guess you feel like I need to wear this tie and stuff, and they escorted her out. But yeah, I mean, it was like, don't you know what show you came to?
So
Right.
so that I think people think that it's gonna be more financially lucrative than it ends up being, and
It's more work than they thought.
yeah,
Because, I mean, really, from the outside looking in, and I don't know if you thought this before you really started getting into it. I mean, it just seems like you're telling jokes. Like you're having a good time, having a laugh. Like you don't see the work that's behind it that goes into writing those jokes and testing those jokes out. Like that's one thing I've seen a couple times where they're like, oh, some famous comedian totally bombed at this club. And it's like, because he's trying new material out. Like, oh, that was a horribly written joke because he's trying to fine tune it, or she's trying to fine tune it.
And the statistics, or like with the stats that people, it's definitely not official. The numbers that people don't really give, they say that like comedy is like 30% being funny, 70% social networking, and so a lot of comics like hate that, the having to like mingle or having to like reach out, or some clubs won't book you unless they see your face. So like having to drive for free like 8 hours to show your face on a maybe.
Really? Really? So like you gotta go meet with them.
Yeah.
Damn.
So it's like it's a lot more commitment than what some people like think in their mind. Like I think they think it's gonna be a lot easier than what it is. But no, you have to be very comfortable with being uncomfortable.
How do you view all the way the social media plays in all of everything now with the networking? And
it definitely helps, especially for like people who have social anxiety, like myself. Like it allows me to oh, I'm so sorry.
Hey, you went the whole time without doing it. All right, I had someone the other time, like a few days ago, that were just like nailing the mic left and right. So it's okay. I can't hear now. So
I just want to make an impact.
Right. You just clearly did.
It definitely allows like hermits like myself to like still be social without having to like always like be present.
Do you find it grinding? For me, I do. I never had Instagram or Twitter, and I was like literally like a once a year Facebook user. Like I had a profile, and once a year I would just like log in. What's going on? And anyone trying to get a hold of me? Nope. Cool. See you next year. And now I'm like forcing myself to be more active because for this to work, because it's not just me, I have to be able to network and try to get it out there to try to get people to listen. So it's like, it's a lot of work. And I see other podcasts and stuff that like they're putting in way more work than I am every day. 4, 5, 6, up to 10 posts a day, like on Instagram or on Facebook and stuff like that, where I'm just like, fuck, I'll go days without posting something.
No, same. Like my Instagram and my Twitter could definitely be better managed. Like I spend most of my time on Facebook, and with struggling with mental health, if like there's so many like studies that recommend a social media cleanse of just not using it, and it has been proven to help with like depression and anxiety.
Because of the pressure it can put on you. I mean, it's a very you can live very vicariously through other people's lives and feel totally shitty about yours. Good thing about me is I don't care about anybody else. So I don't care what your family is doing. I'm just trying to do my own stuff.
Yeah.
But no, I get that.
And I'm like, oh, I wish I could. But like with most entertainment things, it's almost like, especially if like you're just like kind of getting your foot in the door, it's almost impossible to just not do social media completely.
Right. It's been interesting to me from when I used to DJ and stuff is it used to be like flyers around town and stuff like that, and now you don't even have to do that anymore. It can just be all through this. You can instantly reach people and hope that others find you, through people that are already following you. So it is really useful. It just feels like such a grind sometimes.
And I know Gen Z keeps on like trying to develop like a different platform just because of like how soul sucking sometimes that the current ones can feel.
The newest one's going to be even more soul sucking. Come on.
And like none of the ones that they've developed like have stuck yet either. Too, like they always find their way back.
Yeah, it's crazy, and it's just it's interesting to see because some people, I mean, to be famous just because you're on YouTube, like who would have thought?
Yeah, it's wild, and it's cool though because you don't have to deal with the same gatekeepers.
True, you don't, and that's like one of the benefits, and one of it's the opposite of a fucking benefit. One of the worst things about it, right? Like one of the greatest things and the worst things is that it removes that gatekeeper, but then it allows the junk that the gatekeeper used to prevent from getting through to be just. Look, there's some people that have no talent. Maybe they got a talent that I don't know about, but what I'm seeing is not talented, and they got so many followers, so many likes, they got endorsement deals, and it's like, come on, what are you truly contributing to society or to people in general? It's crazy, but then it also does allow some genuinely talented people to bypass all those layers that they had to get through before, whether or not they were pretty enough or had the right dance moves or the right sound. And now you can experience and find so many unique artists and just talents out there. I think that is a great thing it's done. It's let so much more garbage through too. I had a whole conversation about this on one episode. We talked about the barriers to entry.
Yeah, you talked about it on the Ogama County one too.
Yeah. I think it's a reoccurring thing that comes up. Just because it's the time we live in, and talking to me being older, but talking to some people that grew up through those grinding ages, where the only way you got out was doing the open mic nights, was going around posting flyers and handing them out and stuff like that, and networking at other people's shows. Where now we're in an age where there's some comedians like what Dane Cook, right? I mean, he was YouTube famous or MySpace famous. I mean, he was a comedian doing shows, but he took off because of his videos, and like that was unheard of before that, really. So I mean, it's a crazy time.
Yeah, it's a weird platform.
It is. It is. And there's fucking little kids making millions of dollars.
Yeah,
we had a conversation.
Toys.
Look at my son. Oh. Are you fucking kidding me? Unboxing toys. Go fucking unbox your own. My kid didn't pass 2 classes last year in high school. His first year of high school, he failed 2 classes. We literally had a serious discussion because he loves playing video games. It's like the only thing he really can focus on. He's ADHD and a bunch of other stuff. And I was like, you know what? should we just let him fucking play? Because, like, he has to earn it, right? Like, should we just let him play? A 16-year-old just became a $3 millionaire winning a Fortnite tournament. Should we just let him play?
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost like a legit question. He could become a streamer on Twitch. You know, he could become a pro. I mean, they have the League of Legends right now downtown Detroit. They're having the tournament. Like,
Yeah,
it's a viable career option now. And school's only getting in the way. You know, so what do you do?
Yeah, I mean, it's cool that that's like an option now too. Like I have some friends who are like starting to get into it, and like they make some money off of Twitch, like not like livable income,
Right.
but like enough to help pay for like cell
Some
phone
supplemental
bills.
stuff, yeah.
But then they were like telling me about like how there's other people that like make like 50 or 60,000 a year just from playing video games, like,
Yeah.
and they're not even like famous. They just
Right.
have a decent enough following.
It's crazy. This is nonsense. Well, that's 2 hours. Was it faster than you thought?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes it can be. Sometimes it can. It feels like 2 hours. Other times, no. I think when you're laughing, it makes it a little easier. But again, is there anything that you want to plug before we head out? Any last closing thoughts? If I can find my fucking mouse.
Yeah. If you want to try comedy, definitely do it. It's very cathartic.
What would be the biggest piece of advice for someone that wanted to try out comedy, thought about doing it, is maybe on the fence? What would be your biggest piece of advice?
Do it and don't get discouraged. Like, know that everyone has terrible.
It's not just you.
Yeah. If you don't crush right away, or if you only crush when you have friends and family in the audience, like, keep at it.
Just keep at it. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thank you, Sam. It was very nice meeting you, Sam Rager.
It was nice meeting you as
Right.
well.
Again, website, any Instagram, any upcoming dates, anything like that. I would say any dates coming up next month.
Next month.
Because I release every 2 weeks. And so, like, this isn't going to be live right now or released this weekend. So try to be, you know, when I do release it, so that way it's a little relevant to the dates that you say.
I have a show September, the first week in September. It's called the Burt Sollick Show, and it's at the Stash Gallery, I believe.
A mustache gallery?
It's like a bar, but it's mustache based.
Oh, really?
So-
I was right when you... Okay.
Yeah.
Would have never guessed.
And then I am doing the Ordog Brewery in Marquette in November.
So you're really fucking traveling. Jeez.
Yeah.
Did you have to drive 8 hours for that one to show them your face? Well, it's like, what, 4 or 5 hours maybe.
I've thankfully performed there before, and so they know.
So you already made that drive once before.
Twice before.
Jeez. Great. Well, thank you very much, Sam, for joining the Get Up, and I
Thank you for
had fun
having
talking
me.
to you.
Yeah, it was great talking with you as well.
Thanks. That is the Get Up. Thanks for listening to the Get Up. Make sure to check out thegetupshow.com for more information on this episode's guests. While you're there, check out other episodes, leave a comment, or if you'd like to be a guest on a future episode, shoot an email to contact@thegetupshow.com. Don't forget to follow, like, and share on Facebook at The Get Up Show Podcast. Follow on Instagram and Twitter at The Get Up Show, and subscribe to The Get Up YouTube channel. The Get Up is available on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher Radio, Google Play Music, YouTube, and anywhere you listen to your favorite podcasts.